Hello, everyone. Welcome to English in Advance. My name is Jessica, and I am your host for today. Whether you're commuting to work, washing the dishes, or just taking a quiet moment for yourself, I'm here to accompany you on your English learning journey. Have you ever felt a surge of motivation? That powerful feeling when you decide, this is it, I'm going to master English. You buy a new notebook, you download all the apps, you watch hours of videos, and for 1 week, you are an English learning superstar. But then, life happens. You get busy. You miss one day, then another, and soon that beautiful new notebook is gathering dust on a shelf. Does that sound familiar? If it does, please know you are not alone. This is a story I hear all the time, and it's a story I have lived myself. We often believe that learning a language requires some special talent, a huge amount of time, or a moment of brilliant inspiration. But today, we're going to talk about the real secret, the single most powerful tool you have in your possession. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, but it is guaranteed to change everything. We are going to talk about the superpower of consistency. Consistency is the quiet, humble engine that drives you towards fluency. It's the small, daily promise you make to yourself. It's choosing to do a little bit every single day instead of doing a lot only once in a while. Think of it like water carving a canyon. A single drop of water does nothing, but drop after drop, day after day, for years and years, that gentle water can cut through solid rock. Your daily English practice is that drop of water. It might feel small and insignificant on any given day, but over time, it will shape the landscape of your mind and carve a path to fluency that is deep, strong, and permanent. So get comfortable, relax, and let's explore how you can harness this incredible power to transform your English speaking skills, one small step at a time. Let's begin by truly understanding what we mean when we say consistency. The word itself might sound a bit boring, like something your teacher would say, but I want you to reimagine it. Consistency is not about perfection. It is not about forcing yourself to study for 3 hours every day without fail. That's a recipe for burnout, for exhaustion. No, true consistency is about building a sustainable rhythm. It's about showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it, and doing something small. It's the difference between sprinting for 1 minute and then collapsing versus walking at a steady pace for an entire hour. The walker, the consistent person, will always travel a greater distance. In the world of language learning, this means that studying English for 15 minutes every single day is infinitely more powerful than a 3-hour study session once a week on a Sunday. Why is this? It's all about how our amazing brains are designed to learn. Our brains are not like computers where you can just download a file called English Fluency. They are more like a garden. When you practice a new word or a grammar rule, you are planting a tiny seed. If you only water that seed once a week, it will struggle to grow. It might even die. But if you give it a little bit of water every single day, its roots will grow deeper and it will become strong and healthy. This process has a scientific name, neuroplasticity. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Every time you speak, listen to, read, or think in English, you are creating and strengthening connections or pathways in your brain. Imagine you are in a dense forest and you want to create a path. The first time you walk, it's difficult. You have to push branches out of the way. But if you walk that same exact path the next day, it's a tiny bit easier. and the day after that, even easier. After a month of walking that path every single day, you don't even have to think about it. It's a clear, easy-to-follow trail. This is precisely what consistency does for your English skills. Each small practice session is another walk down that neural path, making it stronger, faster, and more automatic. Those weekend-only cram-style study sessions are like trying to create a path by running into the forest once a week from a different starting point. You never build a single strong trail. Let me tell you a story about two fictional students. Let's call them Chloe and David. Chloe is full of enthusiasm. On Saturday, she locks herself in her room for 5 hours. She memorizes long lists of vocabulary. She does complex grammar exercises, and she feels very productive. But by the time the next Saturday comes around, she has forgotten most of the words, and the grammar rules feel confusing again. David, on the other hand, has a different approach. He has a busy job, so he finds just 20 minutes every day during his lunch break. On Monday, he listens to a short English podcast. On Tuesday, he learns 3 new vocabulary words related to the podcast and uses them in sentences. On Wednesday, he reads a short news article. On Thursday, he calls a friend and speaks in English for 10 minutes. He does these small, manageable things every single day. After 3 months, who do you think is more confident and fluent in their conversation? It's David, without a doubt. Chloe has learned a lot of information about English, but David is building a relationship with English. His daily practice keeps the language fresh in his mind. The neural pathways in his brain are strong and well-maintained. He is building a habit, a system that becomes a natural part of his life, not a weekly chore. Chloe is relying on motivation, which comes and goes like the weather. David is relying on consistency, which is a system he controls. This is the fundamental difference. The goal is to be like David, steady, patient, and relentless in your small, daily efforts. One of the biggest enemies of consistency is something I call the all-or-nothing mindset. This is the little voice in your head that says, if I can't study for at least an hour, there's no point in studying at all. Or, I missed my practice yesterday, so my whole week is ruined. I might as well just give up and start again next Monday. This way of thinking is a trap. It's a perfectionist fantasy that prevents real progress. Learning a language is messy. Life is messy. There will be days when you are tired, sick, or overwhelmingly busy. On those days, the all-or-nothing mindset tells you to do nothing. But the consistency mindset tells you to do something, even if it's tiny, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Let's say your goal is to read a chapter of an English book every day, but tonight you get home late from work, you're exhausted, and the thought of reading a whole chapter feels like climbing a mountain. The all-or-nothing voice says, forget it, go to bed. But the consistency voice says, okay, you're tired. How about just 1 page, or even just 1 paragraph? And so you read 1 paragraph. What have you accomplished? You've done more than just read a few sentences. You have kept your promise to yourself. You have maintained your momentum. You have told your brain, this is important. This is who I am. I am a person who practices English every day, and that is infinitely more valuable than the content of that 1 paragraph. It reinforces your identity as an English learner. So please, I urge you, abandon the all-or-nothing mindset. Embrace the something is better than nothing philosophy. A little bit every day adds up to a lifetime of progress. So we understand why consistency is so important. Now, for the really exciting part, how do we actually build it into our lives? How do we go from being the motivated for a week person to the person who practices English as naturally as they brush their teeth? The secret is to start so small that it's almost impossible to say no. I want to introduce you to the power of the 2-minute rule. The idea is simple. When you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. Does that sound crazy? 2 minutes? How can you learn English in 2 minutes? Well, you can't become fluent in 2 minutes, but you can build the habit of showing up in 2 minutes. The goal here isn't mastery, it's motion. We are trying to make the act of starting your English practice automatic and non-negotiable. So your goal, read more English, becomes read 1 page of an English book. Your goal, learn new vocabulary, becomes learn 1 new vocabulary word and its definition. Your goal, practice speaking, becomes say 1 sentence out loud about your day in English. Anyone can read 1 page. Anyone can learn 1 word. Anyone can say 1 sentence. By making the starting point ridiculously easy, you remove the friction, the resistance that often stops us from starting in the first place. Often the hardest part is just beginning. Once you've read that 1 page, you might find you're interested and decide to read another. Once you've said that 1 sentence, another might follow. The 2-minute rule is a gateway. It's the key that starts the engine. So I want you to think right now, what is a 2-minute English habit you could start today? Not tomorrow, today. Maybe it's opening a dictionary app and looking at the word of the day. Maybe it's putting on an English song and reading the lyrics. Make it tiny. Make it easy. Make it happen. Once you have your tiny 2-minute habit, the next step is to find a permanent home for it in your daily schedule. The best way to do this is with a technique called habit stacking. This means you link your new desired habit, your English practice, to a strong existing habit that you already do every day without thinking. Your brain loves patterns, so we are going to cleverly attach your new English habit to a pattern that's already there. The formula is simple. After before current habit, I will new English habit. Let me give you lots of examples so you can see how powerful this is. Let's say you make a cup of coffee every single morning without fail. That is a strong existing habit. You could say, after I press the start button on my coffee maker, I will review my English flashcards until the coffee is brewed. The coffee maker becomes the trigger, the reminder for your English practice. Are you a morning person? Maybe your stack looks like this. After I brush my teeth, I will read 1 page of my English novel. Or, after I get dressed, I will write 1 sentence in my English journal. Are you busier in the mornings? What about during your commute? After I get on the bus, I will listen to an English podcast for 10 minutes. Or, while I am waiting for the train, I will complete 1 lesson on my language app. Maybe the evening is better for you. After I finish washing the dinner dishes, I will watch 1 5-minute YouTube video in English. Or, before I go to sleep, I will say 3 things I'm grateful for out loud in English. The key is to be very specific. Don't just say, I will practice English in the morning. When in the morning? What will trigger it? The more specific your plan, the more likely you are to follow it. Your current habits, like waking up, eating lunch, commuting, getting ready for bed, are the strong anchors to which you can tie your new, small English habit. Take a moment to think about your own daily routine. What are the things you do every single day, no matter what? Could you attach a 2-minute English practice to one of them? This isn't about finding more time in your day. It's about linking new actions to the time you already use. Another crucial element of building consistency is shifting your focus from goals to systems. What's the difference? A goal is the result you want to achieve. For example, I want to become a fluent English speaker. A system is the process you follow that will lead to that result. For example, I will listen to 15 minutes of an English podcast every day while I walk my dog. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are what actually make you progress. Why? Because you can't directly control whether you become fluent today. Fluency is a long-term outcome, but you can control whether you listen to that podcast today. You are 100% in control of your system. When you focus on your goal, you are always thinking about how far you still have to go, which can be discouraging. You are living in a state of future failure until you reach the goal. But when you focus on your system, you get a little victory every single time you complete your daily habit. You feel successful today. And this feeling of success and accomplishment is a powerful motivator that keeps you going. So by all means, have your big, inspiring goal of fluency. But then, put it aside and fall in love with the daily process. Fall in love with your system. Your system might be, every morning at 8 a.m., I sit at my desk with a cup of tea and write in my English journal for 10 minutes. That's it. That's your job. Your only job is to follow the system. The results, the fluency, will take care of themselves as a natural consequence of your consistent actions. Don't chase the butterfly of fluency. Build a beautiful garden of daily habits, and the butterfly will come to you. To help you stick with your system, I highly recommend you make your progress visible. Our brains are motivated by visual cues. Seeing evidence of our hard work is incredibly rewarding. One of the simplest and most effective ways to do this is with a calendar. Get a simple wall calendar and a big marker pen. For every day that you complete your small English habit, put a giant X over that day. Your goal is simple. Don't break the chain. Each X you draw is a vote for your new identity as a consistent English learner. As you see the chain of X's getting longer and longer, 1 week, 2 weeks, a whole month, you will feel a growing sense of pride. You will become more and more motivated to protect that chain. You won't want to see an empty square because it will break your beautiful streak of success. This simple trick turns language learning from a chore into a game, and your opponent is your own laziness. And it's a game you can win every single day. This isn't about punishing yourself if you miss a day. We'll talk about that later. It's about celebrating every time you show up. It's a visual reminder that your small daily efforts are adding up to something significant. Now, all these systems and tricks are wonderful, but they will only work long-term if you do one very important thing. You have to make it enjoyable. If your daily English practice feels like a punishment, like taking horrible-tasting medicine, you will eventually find excuses to stop doing it. Your willpower is a finite resource. You can't rely on it forever. Instead, you need to find ways to integrate English into your life through activities you genuinely love. The key to long-term consistency is enjoyment. Think about what you already do for fun. What are your hobbies? What are your passions? Now, how can you do those things in English? For example, do you love cooking? Start looking for recipes in English. Watch English-speaking cooking shows on YouTube. You'll learn vocabulary like whisk, sauté, dice, and simmer in a natural, fun context. Are you a sports fan? Start reading sports news websites in English like ESPN or BBC Sport. Follow your favorite teams and athletes on social media and read their posts in English. Listen to English language sports podcasts. You'll be so interested in the content that you'll forget you're even studying. Do you love movies or TV shows? This is a fantastic resource. Start by watching a movie you already know well, but this time with English audio and English subtitles. Because you know the story, you can focus on connecting the words you hear with the words you see. Then, as you get more confident, try watching with only English audio. You won't understand every word, and that's okay. The goal is to get the general meaning and train your ear. What about music? Find English songs that you love. Look up the lyrics and sing along. This is amazing for your pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. Music helps words stick in your memory in a way that flashcards can't. If you enjoy video games, switch the game's language to English. You'll be motivated to understand the instructions and dialogue to succeed in the game. The point is to stop seeing English practice as a separate, isolated activity that you have to force yourself to do. Instead, weave it into the fabric of your life. Make English the medium through which you enjoy your hobbies. When you do this, it stops being a chore and starts being a pleasure. And when something is a pleasure, being consistent becomes effortless. You won't need to force yourself to do it. You'll want to do it. This is the ultimate secret to sustainable long-term learning. You're not just learning a language, you're building a lifestyle. Let's dive deeper into some specific ways to integrate English into your daily life, to make it an environment you live in, not just a subject you study. One of the easiest and most powerful things you can do is to change the language settings on your technology, your phone, your computer, your social media apps. Switch them all to English. At first, it might feel a little strange or even difficult, but you will quickly adapt. You already know where the buttons and menus are. This change immerses you in English in a very practical way. You will learn words like settings, inbox, send, delete, and search without even trying. It's a form of passive learning that surrounds you all day long. Another wonderful technique, especially for speaking practice, is to become your own narrator. Narrate your life to yourself out loud in English. It might feel silly at first, but it is one of the most effective ways to practice speaking when you don't have a partner. As you are making breakfast, say, "Okay, I am walking to the kitchen now. I am opening the fridge. I see some eggs and milk. I think I will make some scrambled eggs." When you are getting ready to leave the house, say, "I am putting on my shoes. I need to remember to take my keys. The weather looks a bit cloudy, so I should probably take an umbrella. What does this do?" It forces you to actively search for words. It makes you practice verb tenses, especially the present continuous, "I am walking." It gets you comfortable with the physical act of forming English sounds. Nobody needs to hear you. This is a private conversation with yourself. You are transforming mundane, everyday moments into active language practice. Over time, you'll find that thinking in English becomes more and more natural because you've been practicing it all day long. Now, even with the best systems and the most enjoyable activities, every learner will face challenges. The journey to fluency is not a straight line upwards. It's full of twists, turns, and sometimes long, flat roads where it feels like you're going nowhere. Let's talk about these challenges and how to overcome them with a consistent mindset. One of the most common and frustrating experiences is hitting a plateau. A plateau is a period where you are still practicing every day, but you feel like you are not making any progress. Your vocabulary isn't growing, your listening skills aren't improving, and you feel stuck at the same level. This is a completely normal part of the learning process. In fact, it's often a sign that your brain is working hard behind the scenes. It's consolidating everything you've learned. It's like when a computer is installing a big software update. The screen might not show much activity, but a lot is happening internally. The worst thing you can do when you hit a plateau is to stop. This is the moment when your consistency is tested the most. You have to trust the process. You have to keep showing up, keep doing your daily practice, even when you don't see immediate results. The plateau will end one day. You'll suddenly understand a conversation you couldn't before, or a word you learned months ago will pop into your head at the perfect moment. Consistency is what carries you across the plateau to the next stage of growth. When you feel stuck, don't give up. Maybe try changing your routine a little. If you've been watching movies, try a podcast. If you've been using an app, try reading a book. Sometimes a little variety is all you need to start feeling progress again. But whatever you do, keep going. Of course, there will be days when you just don't feel motivated. You'll wake up and the thought of practicing English will feel heavy. This is human. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are unreliable. They come and go. This is why we build systems. Systems are what you do when motivation is gone. On a day when you feel zero motivation, go back to your 2-minute rule. Tell yourself, I'm just going to do it for 2 minutes. Set a timer for 2 minutes and start your easiest English activity. Maybe it's listening to one song. Anyone can do something for 2 minutes. What you'll often find is that after those 2 minutes are up, you'll feel a little bit better. And you might decide to continue for another 5 or 10 minutes. The hardest part is starting, and the 2-minute rule makes starting easy. Another powerful tool for those unmotivated days is to reconnect with your why. Why did you start learning English in the first place? Take a moment to really think about it. Was it to get a promotion at work? To travel the world and connect with people from different cultures? To understand your favorite movies without subtitles? To help your children with their homework? Your why is your deep personal reason. Write it down on a piece of paper and stick it somewhere you can see it every day, like on your bathroom mirror or your computer screen. When your motivation is low, read your why. Remind yourself of the dream that this daily practice is building. Your system is the vehicle, but your why is the fuel that keeps the vehicle moving forward. Perhaps the biggest obstacle for many learners is the fear of making mistakes. This fear can be paralyzing. It can stop you from speaking, from writing, from trying. We are so afraid of looking foolish or saying something wrong that we choose to say nothing at all. We must change our relationship with mistakes. I want you to know this. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are your teachers. They are proof that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone. The only person who never makes mistakes is the person who never tries anything new. Every single mistake you make is a valuable piece of data. It shows you what you don't yet know, and it points the way towards what you need to practice. When you make a mistake, don't feel shame. Feel curiosity. Why was that wrong? What is the correct way? When you reframe mistakes as learning opportunities, you take away their power to scare you. I'll tell you a little secret. Even native English speakers make mistakes. We use the wrong word, we phrase things awkwardly, we forget what we were trying to say. It's a natural part of communication. The goal is not to speak perfect English. The goal is to communicate effectively. And communication is always more important than perfection. So please, give yourself permission to be imperfect. Give yourself permission to make 1,000 mistakes. Because on the other side of those mistakes is where you will find your fluency. Be brave, open your mouth and speak. What you have to say is more important than how perfectly you say it. But what happens when you do miss a day? What happens when life gets in the way and you break the chain of X's on your calendar? This is a critical moment. The all-or-nothing mindset will tell you, see, you failed. You're not consistent. You might as well give up. You must learn to ignore that voice. The most important rule of consistency is this: never miss twice. Missing one day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the beginning of a new undesirable habit. If you miss a day, it's okay. Forgive yourself. Don't waste time feeling guilty or angry. Your only job is to make sure you get back on track the very next day. Just show up tomorrow. Do your 2-minute habit. That's it. A single slip does not make you a failure, it makes you human. True consistency is not about being perfect. It's about how quickly you recover after you slip. It's about starting again and again and again. It's about resilience. Progress, not perfection, is our motto. Now, to put all of this theory into practice, I want to do a little activity with you right now, combining the idea of a graded reader with this podcast format. A graded reader is a story that has been specially written for language learners. The vocabulary and grammar are simplified for a specific level, which allows you to read and enjoy a story without constantly stopping to use a dictionary. It's a fantastic way to build vocabulary, see grammar in action, and gain confidence. So I am going to read a short story to you. I want you to just listen and relax. Don't worry if you don't understand every single word. Just try to follow the main idea of the story. The story is about a young woman named Maya and her goal. Let's listen. Maya loved to bake. More than anything, she wanted to open her own small bakery. But she had a problem. She was not a very good baker. Her cakes were often too dry and her bread was too hard. Her friends were kind, but their faces told the truth. Maya felt discouraged. Maybe this is just a silly dream, she thought. But Maya's grandmother gave her some advice. The secret to baking, my dear, she said, is not a special recipe. The secret is practice. You must be persistent. Try to bake something small every single day. Maya decided to follow her grandmother's advice. She didn't try to bake a big, complicated cake. She started with a simple plan. Every evening after work, she would bake just 6 cookies. The first batch of cookies was not very good. They were a little burnt, but she didn't give up. The next day, she baked 6 more. This time, they were a little better. Day after day, week after week, Maya continued her routine. 6 cookies, every single evening. It became her habit. She learned how the dough should feel. She learned the perfect temperature for her oven. She learned to smell when the cookies were ready. Each batch was a small lesson. She was not just baking cookies. She was building a skill, step by step. After 6 months, her friends came over for a visit. Maya gave them some of her cookies. They took a bite and their eyes opened wide. "Maya," they exclaimed, "these are incredible." "They are the best cookies we have ever tasted." Maya smiled. Her kitchen was now filled with the sweet smell of success. She knew she still had a long journey before she could open her bakery, but now she believed it was possible. She had learned the most important ingredient of all, the magic of doing something small, consistently, every single day. What a lovely little story. I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's use this story to learn a little bit of English together, just like you could do every day with a graded reader or a podcast. Let's look at a few key words and phrases from the story. The first word I want to focus on is discouraged. In the story, it says, Maya felt discouraged. Discouraged, spelled D-I-S-C-O-U-R-A-G-E-D, is an adjective. It describes the feeling you have when you lose confidence or enthusiasm for something, usually because you have had a failure or a problem. You feel like you want to give up. For example, after failing the exam for the third time, he felt very discouraged. Or, don't be discouraged by your mistakes. Keep trying. It's a very common feeling for language learners, but just like Maya, we have to push past it. Now I want you to practice. Can you think of a time you felt discouraged? Try to make a sentence using the word. You can pause the podcast and say it out loud. For example, sometimes I feel discouraged with my English pronunciation. Go ahead, give it a try. Great. The next word is persistent. Maya's grandmother told her, you must be persistent. Persistent, spelled P-E-R-S-I-S-T-E-N-T, is also an adjective. It means to continue doing something or trying to do something even though it is difficult or other people are against it. It's a very positive word. It's about not giving up. For example, she was a persistent student and practiced every day. Another example, the journalist was persistent and asked the politician some difficult questions. Maya was persistent with her baking, and it led to her success. Now it's your turn. How can you be persistent with your English learning? Try to make a sentence. For instance, I will be persistent and study for 15 minutes every day, even when I'm tired. Your turn to speak. Excellent. Let's look at a phrase now. The story says, she didn't give up. To give up is a phrasal verb, and it is incredibly common in English. It means to stop trying to do something. It's the opposite of being persistent. When you give up, you quit. For example, the race was very difficult, but the runner didn't give up. Or, if you're asking a question, are you going to give up or are you going to try again? Maya didn't give up on her dream. And you shouldn't give up on your English learning dream either. Now, for your practice, can you finish this sentence? Learning English is sometimes hard, but I will never... Say the full sentence out loud. But I will never give up. Well done. One more word, routine. The story says Maya continued her routine. A routine spelled R-O-U-T-I-N-E is a noun. It means your usual or fixed way of doing things, the things you do every day in the same order. For example, my morning routine is to wake up, drink a glass of water, and then meditate. Or, it is good to have a study routine to help you be consistent. Maya created a routine of baking 6 cookies every evening. This routine was her system for success. Your English practice should become part of your daily routine. So for your last practice prompt, I want you to describe one part of your daily routine in English. For example, part of my evening routine is to read a book before I sleep. Now you try. What is your routine? Fantastic work. You see what we just did? We took a simple, enjoyable story. We listened, we focused on a few new words, and you practiced speaking them out loud. This is a perfect example of a small, consistent, daily practice. Imagine doing something like this for just 10 or 15 minutes every single day. The cumulative effect over months and years would be absolutely enormous. So as we come to the end of our time together today, let's bring everything back to that one powerful idea: consistency. It is the bridge that connects your dream of fluency to the reality of achieving it. It's not about finding 4 free hours in your day. It's about finding 15 minutes and protecting that time fiercely. It's about starting small with a habit so easy you can't say no. It's about building a system you can rely on when motivation fades. It's about making it fun, weaving English into the things you already love. It's about tracking your progress and celebrating your daily wins. And most importantly, it's about forgiving yourself when you slip and having the courage to simply start again the next day. Fluency is not a magical destination you suddenly arrive at. It is the result of thousands of small steps taken, day after day after day. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, every minute you listen. These are the bricks you are using to build the house of your English fluency. And consistency is the mortar that holds all of those bricks together, making the structure strong and permanent. So now, I have a challenge for you, a call to action. I don't want you to make a big, grand promise to yourself that might be difficult to keep. I want you to do the opposite. I want you to think of one tiny, ridiculously easy English habit that you can commit to doing every single day for the next week. A 2-minute habit. Maybe your habit will be, I will say good morning to myself in the mirror in English. Maybe it will be, I will listen to the first 2 minutes of an English podcast. Or, I will write one English sentence in a notebook. Whatever you choose, make it small. Make it specific. And then, I would love for you to share it. Come and find us in the comments section of this podcast and write down your one consistent habit for the week. For example, you could write, my habit is to learn one new phrasal verb every day while I drink my morning tea. By sharing your commitment, you make it more real. You make a promise not just to yourself, but to our wonderful community of learners here at English in Advance. We can support and encourage each other. And if you found this conversation helpful today, if you feel a little more inspired and a little more capable of reaching your goals, please consider subscribing to our channel. Every subscription, every like, and every share helps us to continue creating helpful content for amazing learners all over the world just like you. Share this episode with a friend who might need to hear this message today. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember that every small, consistent step you take is a giant leap towards the confident English speaker you want to become. Trust the process, be patient with yourself, and just keep showing up. You are doing a fantastic job. Until next time, my friends, happy learning.